What's up, everyone? Thank you for joining us and welcome to Elite Fantasy Nation podcast. I'm your host, Matt Dennis. You can follow me at Fantasy Matt EFN. Follow together today with my buddy James. So James is back. James joined us on the podcast before we did the YouTube channel about a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago. So Pat's taking a little time off. He's working on putting together his show. He's got an art show coming up on Saturday. So he's scrambling to kind of get all of his artwork up and placed and looking all killer so he can hopefully sell some, make some money. So James decided to join us, talk a little bit about the combine coming up and just talk about some trades that have kind of popped off in our leagues. So James Dunoyer, how are you doing, bud?
What up? What up? Good to see you, man.
Did I mess it up again?
You did pretty well. Dunoyer. Yeah, the last name is a point of contention, but we're getting
it there. Is. No, I'm just stupid and I can't pronounce things. So James doesn't have a Twitter handle, but if anybody's in Sleeper, his Sleeper handle is Jiggity Gemez, which you can see at the bottom underneath him, man. So like I said before, he's been on us before, had a lot of intellectual things to say, so figured we'd have him back and kind of press him a little bit on some conversations. He decided to show up with his fancy locks, kind of hanging out and rolling. So gotta love the hair, man. Fucking let him out, man. Let the beast out.
A couple of dog ears, brother.
Love it, man. Love it. All right, so there's just a couple of how you been, man? Why don't we talk about that first? How you been?
Good, dude. I'm really happy to see some trades popping off in our leagues finally. People are starting to sit back down at the table and look at the chips.
Yeah, I think we got 6 to kind of go through today, and then there's another 3 that we'll hold that are actually. Pat had a mega day of trades. He did 3 trades back to back to back. I think it was within a span of like maybe 4 to 5 hours. 2 with you, or 1 with you?
2, I believe. Yeah, 2 with
me. It's 2 with you. Okay, there's just so many trains in my head I couldn't remember. I thought it was 2 with you. So yeah, 2 with you, 1 with somebody else. He's been making a lot of moves, and then I kind of got the itch and made a move, which we'll talk about my trade today as well. But before we do that, we'll jump into some news. So real quick, kind of hit on the news. Pat normally do this. Since he's slacking away. I'll just jump in. NFL Combine, man. Obviously, it's this week. Really kicked off early Monday. The first testing was yesterday with the D-line and linebackers. And then today we got the defensive back doing on-the-field workouts along with the tight ends. Quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers just now are showing up and doing interviews. I'm sure a lot of people are seeing them pop up on YouTube. Caleb Williams is obviously the talk of the town. So you got Drake May, Caleb Williams, Adunze. I just actually watched his interview in front of the press. He's pretty funny. If you haven't watched it, man, take a look when you get a chance later, James. And I'll definitely take a look. That he's got some character.
All right.
And they work out. So that kind of like the fantasy, calling the fantasy important guys, the running backs, quarterback, and wide receiver all work out tomorrow. Then you got the O-line, and then you got the punter, kickers, and all the special teams guys work out on Sunday, the last day, and it wraps up. And then right after that, man, in a couple weeks after that, you have the NSL, the free agency kicks off in a couple of weeks after. So things will really start to pick up. Want to kind of get on before tomorrow, and kind of like as things are popping out for the wide receivers and quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs. I just wanted to kind of talk about like what we're thinking about, what we're excited about seeing, what we want to see, and kind of just set the stage. Another kind of key note, and we were talking about this before we jumped on, Saquon Barkley, I just saw this before we jumped on. There was a Twitter feed that I follow that was talking about he would prefer to go to the Tennessee Titans, so I think that'd be kind of an interesting pairing. And you had some thoughts on that, man, so what do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. Like, talk about replacing one bell cow dude with another, from Derrick Henry to Saquon.
I mean, dude, yeah.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, no, it'd be a pretty killer. And, depending on what they do in offense, too, as far as the quarterback, it looks like, they're too far down to, I think, drafts one, unless they were to try to trade up or whatever. But you got Will Levis, so it'll be interesting to see kind of like how that plays out. But, yeah, it'd be interesting. I would honestly, I was not even thinking about him going to Tennessee until I saw the report. So where do you think it'd be an ideal spot? Cool, so what Tennessee
Saquon?
side? Yeah, Saquon Barkley.
Well, Baltimore, of course, is like kind of the dream spot that people have been talking about.
Yeah.
And I would agree. Like I mean, look how good they were last year without a real running back in that backfield.
Yeah, the offense would be insane, especially if they get another wide receiver. Like that'd be a killer.
Oh yeah.
Killer offense. So,
Well, I don't know. If you drive by my condo at night, you look in the window, you'll see a candle lit, and that's for Rashad Bateman. I'm still holding out hope.
I don't know. I also saw a report too that they were talking about they need to make sure he has more of the offense, so they need to focus more of the offense on Rashad Bateman. But I'm sure it's just smoke screen. This is off-season smoke screen where they're hyping everybody up, and all the coaches have nothing but good shit to say about people, and then the season starts and like they go back to their same old, and they just throw it to Mark Andrews the whole time.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I'll take it. So what else have we? So the Bears. We're talking about this too. So earlier in the week, the Bears had mentioned that they wanted to try to have a direction picked out. There's kind of rumors and thoughts before the combine kicked off that they were going to try to have the direction for the quarterback picked out this week. So we'll see. From everything that I'm hearing that's coming out of like all the podcasts that I listen to, and even the Bears podcasts that are just specifically Bears focused, they're all saying that like the vibe since basically Tuesday in the combine is that Caleb is definitely going to the Bears. Like they're not going to trade out of the 101. So that'll be interesting to see. Speaking of, Caleb, so Caleb and Jaden Daniels will not be thrown at the combine. So that'd be kind of sucks, but I mean, I guess at the end of the day, there's enough on tape for both of them. They've got enough games. I think Caleb has well over 30 games. And then you've got, I think Jaden's got 4 years, so he probably has 40 some games that he's played. He's had injuries, but yeah, it'd be nice to kind of see them there, but they're there, I guess, interviewing, talking to the teams, and doing the rounds. But it'd be awesome if you could see them run, or participate, I guess. And then Marvin Harrison will not be doing anything. Apparently, he hasn't even showed up. I was reading a report like he's not even going, which I think is just like kind of like asinine, dude. Like, or he's not there yet. The report said basically everybody else is there, but he's not there. So it's like, is he just gonna like show up when he chooses to? Like,
yeah,
so
good on him. I'm all for that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for that, but then it's also like some teams sour on that, and it could cause him drop. I'm not saying he's going to drop down past 5, but I mean, there might be a team in the 3 place or 4. So instead of taking him, might take Odunze or somebody else and be like, all right, we're going to take him instead. So, or Malik Neighbors, who people say it's 1A, 1B between the two. So it'd be interesting to see if it does affect his draft stock. So it's very cocky just not to show up, in my opinion. Everybody else is there, dude, and you just don't show up. I mean, it's like, come on, dude.
I feel it. I get it. People know what it's just a workout. Like he should be focusing on, there are more important things he has to focus on than training to run a 40.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate discipline in and of itself.
Well, it's not even just the 40. So some people are showing up when they're not doing anything. So you can still show up and just not do anything. I mean,
and just hang. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you're there representing, there's 32 teams that are sending half of their whole entire coaching staff and organization out there to meet people, and you don't even bother to you're not showing up. Like come on, that's bigger. It's bigger than going in your underwear and running. I mean, that's what I think people kind of look at the combine is like, oh, that's all you're doing is these drills. No, dude, like you're meeting with teams. They're getting to see how you interact with your peers and kind of like that whole like PR shit. I mean, you're kind of like becoming the face of franchise if they draft you top 5. I mean, they're investing a lot in you, and you can't. You're
very right. There's the distinction.
You can't even do that shit. I mean, that'd be like, hey, dude, let me show up to a job interview and like I set up a job interview for you, and you're just like, whatever, man. Look at my resume. You know what I mean? Well, how would you feel about that?
I doubt Brad Pitt auditions anymore. So
yeah, but he's also pro. They're not pros.
There you go.
That's all I gotta say, man. I don't know.
No, I feel.
It's like I said, it's like a job interview. I mean, you're basically that's their job interview. It's a one opportunity to have a job interview, but teach their own. So what are you looking for to the combine, man? Let's talk about that. Let's go through some of your thoughts with the combine, like things you're excited to see, not see. I mean, obviously, we already have different discrepancies of what people, showing up or not showing up. So what else what are some of your thoughts or what are you excited about?
Well, I think the most important things that are going to happen at the combine are going to be the things that we actually don't get to see. The medicals, the agents shaking hands and making, deals behind
the PR shit.
Whatever, the PR stuff, like you were saying, all the non-sensationalized stuff is
right. And not the 7:00 prime time. Let's watch them run in shorts. No.
Right.
Yeah.
But what is nice about the combine is that it is a level playing field for all of these guys where they can all exercise in the same environment and we can compare them apples to apples. It's good.
Yep.
Excuse me. It's good to get player comps just
Yeah.
for risk
Yeah.
assessment against historical norms. Players of this position with these measurables have this probability of reaching
You get
said
the
point in their
Yeah,
career.
no, that's awesome, dude. You get like the RAS scores that come out of it too. Height, weight, what you do, and all those kind of all added up to give you kind of like how explosive a player is.
Totally.
I think it's I think it is important too. It depends on the position, honestly. Like in my opinion, like I think
Sure.
having defensive linemen run 40 fucking yards, it's like they're never gonna run 40 yards in their whole entire careers. So like, why does that matter? Like I totally get like there's certain things, but the drills where they're shifting the body weight, they're doing the different drills, and you can kind of, to your point, I think it's perfect. Is like you're comparing X player and how he moves, how he shifts his body, transfer of weight, repositions himself to Y player, and it's like you get the exact comparison versus you look on tape, and it's one of the things is you're looking at somebody plays in the Pac-12. Well, that's much different than playing in the SEC versus playing in the Big
Right.
Ten. So it's like those are the comparisons that you have if you don't get them on even playing field. So I think it's a perfect. I love the kind of the setup and kind of like how you evaluate it, and I think that's the way to evaluate it. Like 40 time isn't the NLBL. Who cares? But then you got people like Dunze in his interview when you get a chance to listen to it. Dunze was basically saying he's like I want to do they asked me if he's going to do the 40 because a lot of people are opting out. The other thing that you have too is injury, which we haven't talked about. You do a 40, you spend your whole entire college career getting to a point to get drafted. You go through all the interviews, and then you do a 40 and you tear your ACL or pop an Achilles or whatever. I mean, it's like then you could go from first round top 5 to bottom of the first round or even the second round or even third round. It's like people could just drop you fairly quickly. So it's like obviously the risk factor that goes into it. There's an offensive lineman last year that had to happen. He was running his 40. I was actually watching it. It was like a late night thing. And I think he tore his ACL or MCL. And then he ended up coming back and doing the bench press and doing other things. But he dropped from like the second round to the 5th round because of it. So it's like you definitely, there's a risk reward, that comes out of it, man. But I enjoyed just seeing the time. The times.
I think it's huge for these dudes who don't have as much pedigree,
the lower
really
round people. Yes, 100%. I think this is deal breakers for them. It's a great call.
Yeah, because the better you test, the more leniency you get for whatever lack of production you might have.
Yeah, or then it's like, hey, well, he was in division whatever, or in the Big 12, if that's even a thing anymore. So like, but he's testing like through the charts. So if he was somewhere else, like maybe he would be higher up on our board. So like, oh, let's reevaluate him, and then they take a second look. Dunze said something really funny that he's like, I'm running it because I want to compare myself to everybody else. He's like, I want to see where I stack against the greats. Like he's like, I'm running the 40. I'm running it to see where I stack against other great players. He's like, that's why I'm doing it.
That's cool.
And he was like, let's go. He's like, I want to see where I stack in history and like where I'm against everybody else that's ever done it. And I was like, dude, that's like an amazing way to look at it. You definitely, whoever's listening, man, you got to check out the interview. It's easily on YouTube. You just Google NFL Combine and Dunze interview. And it's like, the dude's really cool and charismatic. And then also on top of that, just like he's having fun with the media and people asking questions. He's kind of bouncing stuff back at them. And then just like his outlook on running stuff. And, one of the questions that they asked him too, they're like, like, can you learn from other people? Can you do this? And he's like, look, you're always learning. He's like, I'm always going to try to get better. So he's like, why would I try to say that I'm the best? I don't have anything to learn. I was like, dude,
that's cool, man.
Solid. So yeah. What else are you excited about this weekend, man? Well, tomorrow I should say.
So I'm pretty excited to see the running backs because I feel like right now it's a big cluster and we don't really have a consensus RB1. In any sense.
100%. Yeah.
And there'll be a just big opportunity for especially some of these bigger dudes. Like I feel like the Braylon Allens.
Dude, Braylon Allen. I'm curious to see what he does because
what he's going to run. Yeah.
Because if he runs like, he's a big motherfucker, dude. So if he runs like gets a great time, like he could skyrocket in the draft board. I don't see anybody going in round 1, but I mean like he could be the top one off the board.
Right. And he doesn't even he just needs to to run decent,
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't need to blow any away 100%. Yeah.
Because he's so big. If he runs like, a 4 or 5, that's still going to be a great athleticism score.
Yeah. And then you've got like,
people are going to be impressed.
Yeah, Blake Corum too. Like I'm interested to see how he does.
Yep. Yeah. He's another one of these guys. I think he just needs to do well.
No, he needs to do enough, right? You don't need to like blow people
He needs
away.
to check boxes. Yeah.
Yeah,
He needs to
I think
not
that's a great way of
suck.
looking
He
at it.
needs to
Yeah.
not Kyron Williams himself.
That's exactly my head went there because like Kyron Williams, everybody was like going into that combine to like, as long as he can run what we think he should, because he was so small and like so like small as in stature, height, and then also skinny coming out of Notre Dame. Everybody's like, all right, he just needs to put up good numbers, and he did so bad at the combine. Like I think he fell to like the 6th round. It was like he just like plummeted off, and even in fantasy, like everybody's like, yeah, I'm not drafting his ass now. Like he's got nothing to offer you. And then look at you, he's like a number 2 running back last year. It's crazy, dude, how it happens sometimes. But yeah. And it's a shame. Like Jonathan Brooks, I feel like would be the number 1 guy.
Yep.
But he's not even there. Obviously, with his injury, he's not even there testing. Another guy that I think would be interesting to see too, just on running backs. I think it's a great topic. Will Shipley. I feel like Will Shipley, like a couple of years ago, was like from Clemson. Like everybody was talking a lot about him and the hype behind that. And I feel like nobody talks about him anymore. And I feel like even in the mock drafts that I've done and just reading, different people that I listen to and kind of like listening to different podcasts and reading different write-ups or whatever, like he's not talked about at all. Like you got Bucky Irvin's talked about, you got Trey Benson, Jonathan Brooks, and then it's like nobody even mentions Shipley anymore. So I thought that's kind of interesting. I'd be curious to see what he does and if that changes his outlook as well.
I'd like to see. I think he's going to run well. I'd like to see what he weighs in at.
Okay.
Because
you think he's been light?
I mean, he's listed at 210, but he plays lighter than that. He doesn't play with too much power.
Yeah.
I think that if he weighs in at 210 at the combine and runs well with that weight, I'll feel pretty good about him. Yeah, much better because he is a good player. Just where he's lacking is in the size and strength.
And also the other question, this is I think another good thing that comes out of the combine is how big are these people? Like not only weight wise, right, but also height. It says he's 5'11". Is he really 5'11" or is he 5'9" and a quarter? And it's like,
right? How
that
many
could be
people
huge.
Are going to get Xavier Legetted?
Right? Yeah. Exactly. I mean, yeah. Because what was it? What?
He was supposed to be 6'3" and he's 6'1".
Yeah, 6'1". Yeah, and that's what that's the big attraction with him was like that he was 6'3", and then everybody's like, no, he's actually 6'1" ish, like he's barely even 6'1". I was like, damn, dude.
I think it's 6'1" flat.
Oh, it's like right on the nose.
Right on the nose. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So it's not even like like a tall 6'1", like I'm 5'9" and 3/4. Like, no, you're like right there. You're at the bottom. So
yeah. At the bottom, bro. So running backs, check, man. Loving the running backs. And currently, what are the running backs? Like, obviously, we haven't seen the combine or anybody. Like, running back is not a topic in Dynasty right now. Like, everybody thinks this class is kind of junk or whatever. It's like an okay class, right? Who are the ones that you're like most excited about? I mean, I know you said outside of the combine, even just like in general, like who are you liking? Who you kind of like that are your guys that you're like, all right, I'm already feeling this guy. I just want to make sure he doesn't trip over himself on the way.
Yeah, I really like Audric Estime. I know a lot of people like Audric Estime.
I haven't watched a lot of his film, but yeah, his name's definitely it's definitely a popular name. What about him?
He's good, man.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
He's just good, man. Like, he's a big boy, right? 6'0", 227, at least what he's listed at.
Yeah.
Great power and contact balance with that body type. Good vision and footwork. He's calm, controlled. Really understands how to use blocking leverage properly to be where he needs to be. And good speed
he's
at
patient.
the second and third level. Yeah, he's patient. Yeah. And and when he gets moving, he can really, really move and rip off some explosive gains. And he's also a comfortable pass catcher. I don't think he'll be deployed as a pass catching weapon, but he has shown that he's able to catch the ball, which is nice. Not sure about the burst. But it seems like he has everything else there to his game that if he puts it all together, he could definitely get work done in the NFL.
Okay. I like it, man. Yeah, Estime. Yeah, definitely somebody who I need to kind of zone in a little bit more on. I've looked more at the wide receivers and the quarterbacks and a couple of running backs, so I gotta jump back into that. Anybody else want to tout, or you want to?
Yeah. Who's another dude who I've been digging? Well, you brought up we brought up Shipley earlier. I do like Shipley a lot if he's bigger, if he can show that he's actually a tough guy. Bucky Irving.
Yeah,
Everyone's talking about Bucky though. Bucky's a great dude. I'm a little lower on Trey Benson, honestly.
Yeah, I used to be higher on him, and I was watching some tape and a couple of things on YouTube and watching his like all 22s, and he doesn't really find the hole. Like he's good, and he tries to rely on being able to outrun people like on the outside versus like being patience is estimated. You just said that a second ago, and I think that's key. That's pivotal, and I think that's honestly like one of the most important things. And I'm not, it's not rocket scientist, right? So like in the NFL, it's about patience and finding those holes because those holes open very quickly and they close very quickly in the NFL. Unlike in college, they sometimes get open and stay open. And I've watched some tapes where the hole is right in front of him. It's wide open. He looked at it and then he just like, whoop, I'm just going to cut it outside and try to juke you and run over here and like try to run around this guy. And it's just like, and he'd have like a 2-yard gain versus like a 15 and 20-yard gain. And it's like, that's the stuff you're going to never make it off the practice field, a practice team, whatever, if you can't even fucking hit the hole in the NFL. I mean, the coaches are going to be like, sit your ass down. I'm going to put somebody in here who can do what they need to do. Yeah, that scares me. And when I started watching it, because I honestly was high on him for a minute, like just kind of like thinking about it. But I started like break down tapes. I was like, no, dude, like there's definitely something wrong with his game. It's not gonna translate in the NFL at all. All right, what other positions, man? Let's get through the combine next like 5 minutes. We'll talk about that, and then we'll jump into some trades.
I just want to touch on some quarterback things. Just real quick, I think everyone's kind of curious about what Jaden Daniels is going to weigh in at because he
could be broken in the NFL.
Yeah, he doesn't protect
RG3.
himself. He runs around like a maniac. Yeah. RG3, exactly. Yeah. And then is he going to run?
No. I was just watching an interview with him on I think it was Chicago Sports, CBS Sports, and they didn't ask him if he was going to run, but they asked him if he was going to do it in the throwing, and he said no. So I'm assuming because he's not doing the throwing. No, he's not throwing.
He's not throwing, but I'm curious if he's going to run because that's
right. They didn't ask the question and he didn't answer the question, I guess is my point. But I'm assuming because he's not going to throw. Usually people will throw, but they won't run. You know, if people don't do one of them, I feel like it's usually the 40 because they're just like whatever.
Sure.
But go ahead.
Well, because I was going to say his game is predicated on how good he is as a rusher.
How quick he is. Yeah.
How quick he is, right? So if he runs well, then he's probably gonna weigh in lighter also. Yeah. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You want him to weigh in heavy, but you also want him to run fast. You might not be able to have both, you know?
Yeah, and they were talking too when they were interviewing him about putting on weight. They were asking him like, are you comfortable with your frame? Do you feel like you're gonna want to put on weight when you get to the NFL? And he's like, look, I'm still young. He's like, I'm still growing. He's like, so of course I'm naturally going to be building weight onto my body. They asked him if he worked out, like if he like physically like lifts weights or like they were getting into it quite a bit with him to see like how much are you, because he's skinny, dude. He's going to break in the NFL. You know, it's like small guys like that last for a minute and then they have one major injury and their careers are done. I mean, and that is a big fear. So Jaden Daniels, who else you got, man?
Similar concern, JJ McCarthy, size-wise, he's a little guy. I definitely think that the combine is going to be one of these things where his draft stock is going to be predicated on how well he shows up with his size, but also, of course, interviews and how he handles himself. Teams are going to have to really look at him and think, are we going to put the future of our franchise in the fourth best quarterback in this class's hands?
Yeah, and at what
be worth the first round pick?
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. And at what point, you know, so like he's going to get drafted at some point, but it's like,
of course,
how high up? What is the draft capital that a team's going to invest in him, and where do they see him? You know, is he a top 10, top 15? You know, that's been the question, that he's been rising that high, or is he going to be more like back into the first round, early second round? So it'll be interesting. I feel like this is always the time of year where like everybody's like, oh my god, there's going to be 4 or 5 quarterbacks or going in the first round, and then we get to the draft day and it's like you get 1 or 2. I mean, this class is different. It's much different. So you're going to get at least 3. but everybody's saying it's going to be top. There's going to be 3 quarterbacks and 1, 2, 3. Then it's going to be 3 wide receivers, and I'm like, wait till we get to the draft. I don't know if it's going to be 6 offensive players back to back to back to back. May happen, but you never know.
But I also noticed a bit of a pattern. I feel like every year we talk about how QB thirsty the league is and how everyone needs a quarterback and they're desperate for the quarterback, which is true. But we use that to justify teams reaching for quarterbacks who we don't necessarily believe are worth it.
They're fully proven.
In 2022, we were talking about multiple first-round QBs, and it was just Kenny Pickett, 20th overall. And
that was the draft. That was the draft class that I was talking about. That stuck out of my head the most because a lot of them coming out. Kenny Pickett was the only one who was drafted in the first round, but there was topics that it could be up to 4 that year drafted in the first round, and then it was like a no-brainer, definitely at least 3, and then it was like nope, it was 1, and he was the back end of the first round.
Yep, and then last year the Will Levis thing. Everyone saying the sentiment seemed to be that we don't like Will Levis, but the NFL will.
Yeah, because he's got an arm.
He's got an arm. The NFL is proving that they're a little bit more responsible than we give them credit for with reaching for these quarterbacks. So I think JJ McCarthy's going to fall personally, but I am not sure.
So what do you think he's going to be outside he's outside the first round is what you're anticipating then, or just falling in general?
Late first or outside the first. I don't think he's going to go top 15 like people are saying.
All right, you're a GM in the NFL. You're in the back. Where would you could pick any position you're in draft order. Where would you draft him
at? He would probably be not in the first round.
Okay.
Potentially not even in the second. I think he has a lot of red flags in his profile for someone who doesn't have any elite physical gifts.
Capabilities.
I just wouldn't be taking him.
Yeah. Okay. All right, man. We'll see. So in Dynasty, are you taking him in Dynasty?
He probably won't fall to me.
That's probably true. That probably is true.
I never got Will Levis.
What's that? Like Will Levis?
Will Levis never fell to me.
I feel like there's a couple of drafts in mine at least that Will Levis fell to the back end of the first in a couple of the drafts that I was in. I was like, I wasn't expecting that. So then I felt like obligated to pick him up because I'm like, he's still sitting there and he's a quarterback, so why not? And plus, that class was not nearly as stacked from a wide receiver or from a wide receiver running back position. So it's like you either take a second or third string wide receiver or you take a chance at a quarterback. So I was like, I guess I'll pick up Will Levis at the 8th pick or 9th pick of the first round. So
I couldn't do it.
I mean, he's not worth anything, but he's still sitting on my fucking bench. I've used him a couple of times, but whatever. He'll be out of the league in 2 years. I mean,
I've seen him move for a late first. What's surprising is that he's retained value.
That's the thing. And everybody needs quarterbacks, which we'll get to some trades. Everybody needs quarterbacks in the NFL, or in Dynasty especially too, super flex. So, all right, man. You got anything else on the combine, or do you want to jump into the trades, man? Get the fire going.
We can jump into trades. We didn't talk any wide receivers. You mentioned Odunze's interview. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Check it out. He's the only one that I've checked out so far, honestly. Okay. From a wide receiver perspective,
interview-wise. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely have to take a look at that because that sounds awesome. I like Odunze. So, I think we're going to have some interesting receivers. There's a lot of big dudes. There's some fast guys.
There's a lot of big dudes.
There's a lot of lanky dudes too, who are going to run
Troy
fast.
Franklin, skinny as a fucking rail.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy. Yeah. No, that's another perfect one. I forgot about Xavier Worthy. Odunze also talked about, I keep referencing the Odunze interview just because it's, I don't know, top of mind. I just stopped listening to it as we jumped on to pod. And he was talking about that. He was like, well, why? Because he stayed an extra year. And he's like, I wanted to put more tape on. He's like, I had the COVID year, so it was a shortened year for me. He's like, so I took the opportunity to go back this past season. He's like, we had some unfinished business in Washington. We felt like we had a good team, and I want to keep that core together. So he's like, we wanted to win the Pac-12, which we did. And he's like, and on top of that, he's like, I wanted to improve my draft stock. And he's like, and I think I did that as well. I think I proved people that were naysayers before that what I really have. But anyways, at one point it came up, they were talking about the difference of draft class. He's like, they're asking him to define this draft class of wide receivers. He's like, we're all big. He's like, he's like, the NFL, I feel like, has been getting smaller. And you look at last year's draft class, it was, definitely a different height as far as where everybody kind of stacked up at. And he's like, and then you got our draft class and we're just big guys. And he's like, like this guy over here, and I forget is a Florida State. I forgot the dude's name off the top of my head. Florida State wide receiver. He's like 6'7". He's like, how the hell tall is that guy? He's like pointing. He's like, look at how big he is. He's like, we're all big guys, and he's like, and he's the biggest. It was just fun. And he couldn't see who he was pointing to, but I'm assuming it must have been like an interview station next to him, that like where the wide receiver was, and he was just like, yeah, dude, we're all fucking big. We're all big and fast. And I was like, that's true, dude. So yeah, it was just funny to see him kind of like kind of act that. It's a really good interview, man. You got to check it out. It's like really cool. It seems like a good fun dude. Johnny Wilson, that's who it is.
Oh yeah.
Out of Florida State, 6 foot. Yeah, future tight end. Yeah, exactly. Future tight end, but he's a wide receiver at Florida State, 6'7", listed at 230 pounds. And Dunze was like calling him out about how damn big he was. Yeah, so it's good. Wide receivers will be interesting because like there's literally a shit ton of wide receivers in this class, you know, and we talked about a lot at the top. There's obviously very top heavy, but then it's deep. This class is super deep, and I feel like if you're somebody who needs wide receivers, you just need best ball, you just need bullets to shoot, you know, like to put into your gun to fire off. Like there's a lot of, you know, wide receiver potential that you could draft. So I'm interested how kind of all that stacks out, how their heights stack out. Are they really 6'1", or some of them 5'11", which makes a difference depending on the position. So it'll be interesting. I'll definitely be watching. Probably I'm not the whole day. I'm not going to sit there glued to the television, but I'll be watching some of that tomorrow when it kicks off at 1, I think, my time. So yeah.
Heck yeah.
All right, bro. You ready for some trades?
Let's do it.
All right. Let me switch over the screen. Badao. So we've got a total of, I think you got 6 trades, man. We will start with the first one. Give me 1 second, man. We tried to do this for everybody behind the scenes. We actually recorded this a while ago, earlier this week, and had some error issues and people jumping in late, and so we decided to re-record it. So first one in the chat, we've got Mike, or on the screen is Mike 6577392, trading with Old Mate. So this is going to be FUNDAY Sunday. It's a Dynasty League that I'm in. It's a 12-team PPR Superflex. Start 10, set your lineup. So pretty straightforward trade. But Mike 657392 receives a first-round pick, which is not on here, but I looked it up. It is the 105 in this year's draft class. So the 105 in this year's draft class. And he trades away Travis Etienne to Old Mate. Thoughts?
No dice for me. Give me the pick 10 out of 10 times.
100%. 100%. And we talked about how loaded this is, but go ahead, keep kind of break it down as far as like what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, after everything we just talked about, this class has if you're just looking at quarterbacks and receivers, there are 6, the top 3 QBs and the top 3 receivers. I feel very comfortable about really wanting any of those players. And then add Brock Bowers to that all the way down to 107 are all players who I really want. And not that I don't like Travis Etienne, but I don't need Travis Etienne.
Yeah. Like, he's also a running back. I mean,
yes,
shorter life shelf. Yeah. I mean, I think you hit it perfectly, man. I mean, it's like, would you rather have, and not only you feel very comfortable, the top 6 are all going to be number 1 in their position. So like they're all wide receiver 1s. They're all quarterback 1s. Even Brock Bowers is going to be a tight end 1, you know, so would you rather have a shot at one of those, which, you know, I think are more valuable, or Travis Etienne. And I would definitely 100% take the pick at 105. How far back would you go? Okay. So that's the 105. So let's say, because it's blank on the screen, right? So let's just say you traded earlier in the season and it ends up being 110. Like, or where would your cutoff point be? Where would you rather keep Etienne versus, again, this class is very deep. But some of them will start to be more wide receiver 2 potential if they can even hit that, and then, you know, lower. So kind of want to gauge from you, like where would you feel comfortable saying like, all right, I'll take Travis.
Yep. So we have the top 6 spoken for, and then we have Bowers going down to 107 in, you know, no particular order. And then what if JJ McCarthy goes in the first round? We get 4 first-round quarterbacks. I want the first-round quarterback. I don't care what I think of McCarthy. If he's a first-round QB.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to call you out on that.
No, I'll take the first-round QB. Doesn't matter what I think about him.
No, I hear you. You got it. You have to take the first-round QB. First round
Yep,
NFL QB,
easy.
like first round NFL drafted QB. Yes.
Correct. So I want that over ETN. So I think for me, it goes down to 109. I'll take ETN over the 109.
Okay. And yeah, we pretty much kind of talked about this off air, and we talked a little bit about it the first time I recorded, but I'm about the same, like 108, 109, depending on like how draft capital kind of plays out. I think is a big thing too. But yeah, I'm about there too. Like definitely by 110, I'm definitely would take Travis Etienne. He's proven he's a starting running back in the NFL. You know what team he's on. You know that they rely on him a lot. They've used him in the passing game. So like there's a lot of upside for him. I think the rub for me in this particular trade, why I would go on Mike's side, is just because of where in the first round that draft pick is located. And that's key. And we'll talk about that in another trade that we have coming up with actually my trade. We'll talk about, the positions and I might have a little controversy. I might have to flip a little bit what I just said, but we'll see. But yeah, I think 105, that's too rich to give up to pick up Travis Etienne. So awesome, man. I'm on the same page. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Second trade, we've got David Njoku. So this is with Joe Sung 81. He's trading with KJ Clubbin. So this is going to be 50. It's the 50 flex Yo Man Meat League. So it's the league that I'm in. It is set your lineup, 12-team PPR, tight end premium. So remember that. Big tight end premium push. Also super flex, 12 players set your lineup. And out of this, it's a really funky league. It's the only league that I've ever been in that has this. So out of the 12 spots that you have, 10 of them are flex. And then you've got obviously the 2 super flex. So there's no assigned running back position. There's no assigned tight end position. There's no assigned wide receiver position. They're all flexes. You can kind of manage that how you want. Joe Sung, kind of more backstory. So Joe Sung won the league last year by having only tight ends basically in his lineup. So his tight end, I think he's got 13 tight ends maybe, and they all were in his lineup at one point. So he gets David Njoku and then gives KJ Clubman, DeAndre Hopkins, and Chubba Hubbard. Your thoughts, my friend?
How much is the tight end premium? Is it 1.5 or is it more?
It's I think 0.75 above.
Okay, 0.75 above. I mean, that's a pretty hefty premium, which is nice. But also with start 12, those are also pretty deep rosters, so depth is important as well. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to consider there. I think I would go, it's close, but I would go Nuke and Chubba on this one.
Nuke and Chubba. So the bonus, I actually take it back. I thought it was 0.75. It's 0.1. So basically a double. So damn. Everybody else, it's a 1 point PPR for everybody else, except for the tight end who gets basically 2 point PPR.
Give me Njoku. Fuck it.
I mean, it's crazy. Like
2 point premium. Yeah.
Well, no, it's a 1 point premium, but 2 points total. So like everybody else on the team gets it's a full point above everybody else. It's basically double what everybody else is getting for a premium. Yeah, and honestly, it's the first time I've been in a league that it's juiced that high. And I was kind of like, when it did, so it's a startup from last year, and I was kind of like laughing at him because he just kept taking tight ends. And I was like, dude, what's this guy doing? Like, whatever, dude, you can take all the tight ends you want. Like, and I think he lost one game the whole entire season. I was like, well, he obviously knew what the fuck he's doing, dude. I'm just like, damn. But I agree with you. Like, I think with that much juice on the tight end premium, you have to go Njoku. The question that I really have is Njoku really blew up in the back half of the year. And that was after Deshaun got hurt. So then the question is going to be, with Deshaun back, like how is he gonna look? Because the first half of the year he had an amazing back half of the year. First half of the year he did not look that super good, and it wasn't that elite. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out with Deshaun coming back, if they can keep the momentum going with David Njoku, or if it's going to go back to what Njoku was the previous 2 years, where he was basically a tight end too, But still, with that tight end premium boost, you kind of almost always have to take a tight end. And then I flipped it in the chat. I was like, why the hell did you trade like the guy who has all the tight ends in the whole entire league, who won the league off of tight ends, and he just gave him another tight end? I'm like, I don't understand that. So
love it.
Yeah, the frustrations. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? You're just helping this guy. All right, man. We got another I agree with you on the Njoku. So we're good. So we're both aligned, man. We're 2 for 2.
We're good.
See if
We're
we
good.
keep it
I have a
going. We need
feeling
to
we're
get
going to be aligned on this one.
Yeah, we're totally gonna be aligned on this. This is like a no-brainer. This is like, what the hell is this guy thinking? So
We can breeze through it.
yeah, we'll breeze it really quickly. So this one is you got Boss 2274. So this is the Degenerate Dynasty League. So it's a 12-team PPR IDP league, which does not really come into play here, but it will when we talk about the roster. So it's a best ball. So it's best ball 12-man roster. Out of the 12, 3 of them are actually defensive players. So there's only 9 offensive players, including Superflex. So what we have here is Boss 2274 receives Austin Ekeler and traded away Mattymm, Khalil Shakir. I threw myself off by that Mattymm, and 2024 4th round pick. So again, Austin Ekeler for Shakir and a 2024 4th round pick. I'll let you dunk this.
Yeah, Austin Ekeler's still good at football. Don't be giving him away for practically nothing.
For a third and a fourth.
A fine young man, but yeah, he's not Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler's still a good football player. Don't just be giving him away again. Yeah.
Yes.
Austin Ekeler all day.
Smash on the Austin Ekeler side. 100% agree. What would you equate Shakir at? Like what round? If he was a rookie draft pick.
I think it depends on the league settings. In lineup leagues, I don't want to roster Shakir. I don't think.
So you wouldn't even do 4th round. I'm just trying to equate him to like picks in a rookie. Like if you were to take his name out of there, what would you say? Like it's a 3rd or 4th round pick, or even a 4th round. So you're basically saying 2 4th round picks for as a current trade stands. If you took out Shakir,
yeah. If it's a best ball league, I want Shakir, and I think he's worth a 3rd.
Okay, so we'll say a 3rd and a 4th for Austin Ekeler. I think that's way too low. Way too low. I would say 2nd and 3rd. You could probably argue is a little closer to what it should be. Austin Ekeler, doubt he's gonna be on the Chargers next year with the way that kind of went with him in the organization last year and wanting more money, feeling like he would need to get paid more. And get a whole new regime there, so he's gonna be finding probably a new home. You don't even know where the hell he's going. He could go in an amazing. He could go to Baltimore, and I think about him in Baltimore, like. And he was hurt all last year, pretty much. Like he was basically dealing with an injury the whole entire season. I think he hurt himself week 1, if I remember correctly. Week 1 or week 2, he was out a couple weeks, and then he came back, and then he was never really himself. So like he's older, he's getting older for sure. So older back, get it. Who has injury, coming off an injury, fair. But I don't think he's lost enough to say he's worth a 3rd and a 4th. Like maybe a 2nd round pick, you could say, but like beyond that, it's like no way, dude, no way. I'll take Austin Ekeler. If that's all it takes to get Austin Ekeler, like, come on, man. What are we doing?
I'm going to go send some Austin Ekeler trades out in an
Yeah, you should. I know. I was just thinking about that, too. I was like, I need to start calling up some Austin Ekeler managers and see what I can get that guy from.
Totally.
All right. We're going to get spicy now. We're going to get into mine. This just happened. Yeah, this should wake you up, James. If you don't get if you're not awake from this one, this literally just happened this morning. Late last night, I think, early this morning. And it's already got
your text.
Yeah, because it was last night at like 11, I think, is when I pulled the trigger. I was trying to get your opinion, but you're already asleep, I guess. So then I just said, fuck it, let's go. So this is in Wake Up. You describe the league as your league.
Yeah, it's our league, buddy. It's
that's our league, fair.
It's a Wake Up best ball league with all the listeners of Ray G's Wake Up show. And it's a great league with a bunch of, like-minded fantasy players. Yeah, real degenerate people who just...
Yeah, real degenerate people. Yeah. And it's best ball. Do you remember it was set how many? 12, right? Set 12?
Yeah, best ball, Superflex, tight end premium, PPR, start 12.
Start 12. All right, cool. Thank you for the...
No, start 11.
11. Okay, start 11. Yeah. That's key. It's pivotal. But it's best ball. All right, so kind of a backstory on this. Like, I currently am rostering 4 quarterbacks. You can't play 4 quarterbacks. So I have Bryce Young, who currently you can't get for anything. I've got I had Justin Herbert, and then also this league I'm trying to think of Brock Purdy, and then I've got Matt Stafford. So I kind of have a range of quarterbacks. I need to draft capital. So I had traded away previously my first and my second round picks, which are basically 106. I think I'm 206. So I have my third and fourth round picks this year. I have all my picks for next year. So my thought here was this class is deep. How do I get back into some of the earlier round picks, and how do I get off of some of the quarterbacks that I have to get me some assets back? So I put 3 guys on the block. I put Herbert on the block. I put everybody basically except for Purdy. I put Herbert, put Stafford, and I put Bryce Young on the block. And I'm like, all right, let me just see what I get back. He initially shot me, and I'll go through the trade here in a second, but he initially shot me a different trade, back and forth, whatever. So I landed on this one, and then I'll take you through what the trade is. I'll take you through my thoughts. Well, I'll take you through the trade, and you tell me what you think, just kind of coming from the outside, James. And then I'll take through the rest of my thoughts and like kind of what I see in this trade. So Dynasty MD 6129, that is me. I traded with Scott Free FC. I received Brandon Aiyuk, the 2024 111 and the 2024 112. I sent to Scott Justin Herbert and a 2025 third, which is what he threw in at the end. I was just like, at that point, it's a year out. I'll figure out a way to get that back. So, initial thoughts. And be honest, man. Be honest.
Yeah, it's one of those trades that goes through and you have to really, really think about it. The tricky thing with me for a trade like this is that those picks, of course, are later in the first round.
Yep. And that was one person's comments, and then the league. That was like one of the immediate comments is like, "Oh, 3 quote firsts" was the comment.
And also the fact that you have to make those picks soon. The liquidity on those picks has a clock that's ticking, and I think those picks will be hard to get out of. But if your plan is to use those picks to move up earlier in the draft, then I think it might pay off for you.
Yeah. So how would you grade it? We didn't talk about grades in the other one. Is this like a D trade? You're like, oof, that was tough.
Well, I went to one of those special schools where they didn't hand out grades.
You didn't grade?
Pass fail.
Pass fail. So pass fail then.
At least in my mind it was. I would want the Herbert side.
Okay.
I would want the Herbert side personally, just because I think that wide receiver is easier to fix than quarterback. And I understand your point that you have 4 quarterbacks and you can't start four quarterbacks, but it's best ball.
Yeah, so no, it is. It is best ball.
I don't mind more bites at the apple. I don't dislike this trade by any means because I am a huge fan of Brandon Aiyuk's game, and I think he's a top 10 dynasty wide receiver, and you can come at me for that. I'm
with you on that. That's why he wasn't part of the trade initially. I basically like, I need Aiyuk. Like, I need an elite wide receiver, like a top wide receiver.
Yeah.
He initially was going to give me a running back. He had a running back on there, and I was like, absolutely not, dude. No. So sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
So I think if it gets you what you need and you still feel comfortable with your roster construction afterwards, then I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was kind of like a little bit of the other people that chimed in are basically like, look, if everybody feels like it helps their team, then like people are just like, what are you going to say? I mean, it is what it is. I feel like the class is so big, and I get what you're saying about the back end of the first round. That was also somebody's, like, as a comments earlier, but it's like, at what point, and we talked about this before it came in the air, at what point do you say that a first round pick isn't valued as a first round pick? Not all first rounds are equal. Not all second rounds are equal. None, like, it's all equivalent to like where they're at within obviously the draft order. But that's part of, like, a first round pick is still a first round pick, right? So it's like after 108 is no longer considered a first round pick. So that's kind of one thing that I'm like, if it was in last year's class, there's no way in hell I would have done this. Like, the reason why I did this is because I do know this class. I've studied this class. I know how deep this class is. I know what they can bring, and I know that those two can be two. We talked about this before on air. So, like, it could even be JJ McCarthy. I just did a mock draft a couple of times before I came on here, and I know it's a mock draft. It's not with the real people, but in this league, I did a mock draft, and JJ fell to pick 11 twice. And again, may not happen, but it's like I still could get a quarterback out of that could be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Could be a second round pick. Who knows? Or I could get 2 wide receivers like Troy Franklin and AJ Mitchell. or AD Mitchell. So it's like those two could easily be wide receiver 2s. So I could have a wide receiver 1 and 2 wide receiver 2s versus giving up a quarterback. I could have gotten more. Like I agree with that. I feel like it's one of those things where like, did I have to sell it for this? I could have waited and see if there's other offers or just not even sold at all and kept them. But it is best ball, so you definitely want to have more bites of the apple. But even in best ball, you still like you're not gonna roster 10 quarterbacks. I'm not saying I had 10, I had 4. But it's like at one point you need to start to fill out your other positions. And that's what got me, and that's why I wanted the picks this year instead of assets for 25 to be able to trade away, was because I do have a lot of holes to fill, and I didn't have my first 2-round picks. So I was like, I need to play in this year's draft class because the next year's draft class does not look that deep at all. Currently, that could all change, but currently it does not look like it's as stacked as what it is this year. So, and that was somebody's kind of thought that I was chatting with privately about it afterwards because they made a comment. I was like, oh, what do you think? Like, honestly, like I DM'd him and I was like, hey, just honestly tell me what you think. And he's like, honestly, instead of the 112, he's like, I would have taken a chance, which is probably what you're saying, on a 25 first. He's like, I would have said, keep the 112, just give me your 25 first. He's like, I'd have rather done that because then it's liquidity. It's longer. You can use that asset for all of 2024. I could sell it off. I can do whatever I want. Or it could be higher up if I had chose to keep it and scot-free team tanks and he's a 105, 104, you take that risk too. You get higher up in the draft. So I totally get that. But the reason I told him, I wrote back and I was like, yeah, but this class is deep and I needed somebody now because I have a lot of positions to fill. So that was my thought. Now, do I feel like if you probably graded it, because I actually looked this up in Keep Trade Cut and I looked it up in another system that I use, and the Keep Trade Cut is pretty much about even. I think it actually has Scott winning a little bit on his side by like 300 points. On the other one, it has him winning quite a bit. I initially had it as a 25 first in there along with all this stuff. That obviously got negotiated out. But yeah, I feel like I probably could have gotten more if I would have waited. But I also feel like it's a decent trade. And I don't think it's like lopsided either way. But that's also me because I'm the one that's looking at it and it's my trade. So like that's why I wanted to get you on here and talk about it, where we could kind of like break it down and be honest about like, hey, did I get hosed? Is this like a dumbass trade where you're just like, what the hell are you doing? Or is it like, something that like you're like, all right, I get it, but yeah, should have got more.
Hindsight's always 2020, and if you're able to take those back end firsts and use them to move up and maybe snag yourself a Jaden Daniels or a Drake May somehow, if you're able to finesse yourself into that, and that quarterback that you end up taking ends up living up to Justin Herbert value, then you just acquired Brandon Aiyuk for a third.
Yeah. Yep. Which is fair.
It's all about what you do with the pieces that you acquired.
But you would not just make the picks. You would try to get rid of them or at least do something with them.
Yeah, I wouldn't make the picks unless I had to.
Yeah. All right. I like it, man. We'll see. We still got, I think, 60 days till that draft kick or the draft starts in this league for the rookie picks.
Yeah, because I think something interesting happens with that. I haven't heard anyone talk about, but I think something interesting happens with draft pick value, where we always say that the value of your draft picks will only go up, right? Up until the rookie draft, the value of your draft picks only go up. I think that's true until right after the NFL draft.
Oh yeah, no, you need it. Like, it's 64 days until we do our rookie draft pick, but I definitely think if you're trading draft picks, you trade them before the NFL draft.
Before the NFL draft,
yeah.
The draft picks take a massive dip right before your actual rookie draft because then you're the one who's forced to push the button.
Well, and it's also, let's just say the reason why you want to do that is because, and we talked about this, like we're thinking this is a stacked, loaded class. Well, let's just say in the first 3 rounds, you only have 10 wide receivers that go versus the 25 or 30 that we think are going to go. Whatever haven't counted up. You know what I mean? Like it could change. And then also the guys that you think are important at 110, 111 or 201, 212 or 201, 202 now are like worth nothing. So it can drop very quickly. It's like crypto, it can just like, it can just fall right out your ass. You don't know what the hell happened. You're just like, there goes that.
You seem to know a little something about that.
Yeah, I do. Watching it climb back up, hopefully. All right, let's look at another one. So same league. This actually popped off this morning. So all three of these were like the same league. So this is Wake Up Volume 2. Is it Volume 2 or Version 2? It just says V2.
V2, which whatever
All right,
you want.
Wake Up V2. So it's a best ball league, set 11 lineup, or not set. It's 11 person lineup. This one I want you to take. I'll read it, and I want you to jump in first. So Tiger Mike traded with Sanford. So T Sanford 08. Tiger Mike gets Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, so he gets a stack. Plus he gets in 2024 the 312. And he traded away his T Sanford 08, DK Metcalf, Jacoby Myers, Trevor Lawrence, and the 209 in this year's draft. So a lot of parts here, man, and actually a lot of except for I guess the 312. There's a lot of value here too. So a lot of important pieces. So take it away, man. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is a great trade, and there's so many ways. I swear, this is one of those trades that you could
analyze it 10 different ways.
I could pitch to you that Tiger Mike won, and in the next breath, I could pitch to you that Sanford won. But I think I'm leaning on the Tiger Mike side of this deal. It's very close, but the elite asset that Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews are, especially in a tight end premium league, Mark Andrews will give you a huge advantage over the competition. I just think there are more difference-making pieces on Tiger Mike's side.
I mean, 312 you can throw that away. The 312 you can throw away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm almost throwing away the 209.
Yeah, that's fair.
With the weight that Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence,
the way that the actual NFL players have on them is heavier than the weight of their draft picks for sure.
Yeah, forget about it. But I could say you could slice it up like what, like Mark Andrews equals. What do you think? Mark Andrews equals DK Metcalf and Jacoby Myers?
No, I'd probably just say Mark Andrews probably equals DK Metcalf, and then I'd probably say, like, if you looked at the other way, Jackson, you'd have to take Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence is much lower than Jackson, so you got to give him a bump. So I'd say Trevor Lawrence with Jacoby Myers to Lamar. Jackson. That's how I look at it, because I don't I don't look at a tight end, even though it is Mark Andrews and his statures, but he's also an older tight end. He was injured, so it's like that. So I don't think he's worth 2 wide receivers.
Okay. No, I agree with that assessment. So then then we're talking about the difference between the 312 and the 209, which when you're talking about dudes as valuable as Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson and Trevor Lawrence, it's nominal. So I'd say this is a great trade for both parties. If they're both happy, then I'm happy, and they should go celebrate.
Yeah, Friday. No, I agree, man. I think there's a lot of layers here. I think you can easily chop it and make your own point or kind of contention that one person won over the other, and you could argue that probably successfully, and you could probably chop it the other way, like you said. So I think it's good, and it obviously, like for T Sanford side, and I know we're saying the throwaways, but he went from the 312 to the 209, so he jumped up a round in 3 picks, and if he needed, probably in his perspective, he's like, hey, I need an extra wide receiver to build that wide receiver room, like I was basically speaking to a second ago. And he's like, I'll tear down from Lamar Jackson to Trevor Lawrence, and then pick up a wide receiver in Jacoby Myers, and then I'll give you DK Metcalf or Mark Andrews because I need a tight end because my tight end room sucks or whatever. So you could decide. You could definitely chop it up in multiple different ways. I do have a question for you though, Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. His stock has been falling over the past year, just given, number 1 overall draft pick. First season was trash. There's a lot going on in Jacksonville with the coaching staff there and just like the chaos. So take that away. Second year, he started out really good, or started out okay, and then he kind of took off second year. Last year, not looking that great, man. I mean, he's been super inconsistent. So overall arching question, and he had talent. Like they brought in, DJ Chark, who you can argue he's washed up, but I mean, they brought in people, Ridley, to give him weapons, and I feel like he hasn't taken that step. So are you starting to get concerned about Trevor Lawrence, T-Law? Like, what's your perspective on, irregardless of this trade? I'm not trying to tie it back to this trade. It's just his name's on there, so I just want to kind of get your perspective.
Yeah, maybe I'm whistling past the graveyard, but I'm still very much enthusiastic about Trevor Lawrence. I've been trying to buy him places because he has fallen. We have this tendency to look at what did happen and project it as to what is going to happen. And he still looks good. I think he has plenty of productive years ahead of him. And I'm really not as concerned as the market reflects.
I mean, part of what we do though is we do have to look at like what has happened, because that gives you the baseline, right? I mean,
so when I say people look at what has happened, I mean they look at the numbers. They pull up their app and they look at, he was QB 13 and he really didn't do great last year from a numbers perspective.
Yeah,
but on the field he displayed the same great traits that I know him for. So I think that it's all going to come together, and it's going to be.
I just wanted to get clarity on that because I'm like,
that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of like talk like what that means and like strategy of like how far back do you and how much do you kind of like how far back do you look, and then how do you kind of evaluate that and put that into evaluation within a player. So that's good. Just picking your brain, man.
For sure. Always good to have a heat check.
Yeah, no, it's not a heat check. Just questions, man. I gotta get you trying to like understand a little more of your knowledge and your theory. Because obviously Pat and I've been doing this about a year and a half, so trying to get to dig in a little bit more and let people hear different ways of thinking, different ways of conceptualizing, thinking through player process and all that other stuff. So that's what I'm about. I want to kind of dive more into that that's why I love having different people on here, different perspectives. Because I think it gives that ability to tell different stories, to look at things differently, to challenge me, to challenge Pat, like just different ways. Like, I don't know everything. And it's, fantasy football, man. This is a whole game. It's a game, and it's like, who knows what the hell is going to happen? This is all like risk. It's like the game Risk, right? So you're just kind of like, whatever, put your money on the line and see what happens. So, yeah, just asking. All right, man. Look at whose name is on the board, man.
Oh, I know I know that, dude.
We have another trade here. So this is our last one, man. So this is Wake Up V2, best ball start. I keep saying start. 11 positions that you got to fill. Superflex, tight end premium. This involves you. So Jiggity Gemez trading with Tiger Mike. I think this has happened either before or after the last trade. It was like back to back. It was like bam, bam. I was like, holy shit, this league's just going on fire right now. So I'll call out the trade. I'm going to hand it to you. I want you to talk me through your thoughts on this, and then I'll give you my thoughts, or like what kind of like how your perspective, how you're thinking about this when you made it. So you received Dallas Goedert, tight end, obviously tight end premium. I mentioned that, so points there, and then Tiger Mike, excuse me, Tiger Mike gets from you this year's 205 and this year's 308. So take away first, man, kind of set the stage like I did in my trade and what your thoughts was and kind of like what you're looking for and whatever else you want to speak to.
Yeah, man. Well, homeboy put Dallas Goedert on the block. So
I missed that because I think I was taking a nap when that happened. I told you I took a nap before he jumped on, and I was like, knocked out for like an hour, and I like woke up and I was like, what in the it's like ding, 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 ding. It's like all these like things kept going off, and I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah, so he put Goedert on the block, and Goddard's one of these dudes who I think he's a good player. I do.
No, I do too. I don't think anybody argued on that.
No, but he definitely, his value is low right now. He didn't produce very much last year. He did not live up to the expectations, and he never really has lived up to.
No, he's had spikes. Like he's like one of those guys who like hold up. Go up, and then like all of a sudden he'll go back to like mediocre, and then he'll have these couple of games where he'll be Dallas Goedert, what the hype was, and then he just disappears for a couple of games. So yeah, he's been very inconsistent is the best way to say it.
My worst take, not my worst take, but a not so great take. I said to my mom maybe about a year ago before last season, I said, end of 2023, Dallas Goedert, Dynasty tight end 1.
She should have recorded that and made it. She should have put a bet up on that. And so just to kind of bring everybody in. So your mom's in a bunch of leagues with you. She's in she's in the league that I'm in. Is she in both? She's not in elite. She's just in the Wake Up, right? Or no, she's in elite. That's right. She's in elite. She's not in Wake Up.
She's in Wake Up V1. Yeah.
V1. Yeah. So not the one that I'm in. So she's in one league. How many leagues total is your mom in?
I think she's pushing 20.
Yeah. See, I just want to give context, of his there's not a lot of women in this space, that are even in fantasy football, like within the game of talking about it. So I want to give your mom the respect. She almost won our league, my league, I should say, the Elite Fantasy Nation League last year. She was crushing it the whole entire year. And then I think in the playoffs, I think it was the semifinals. I think she just had a bad run and just like couldn't push into the finals and finished, I think, third, if I remember correctly. But yeah, she's a baller, man. So that's why I just want to give her the props, man. I just want to, give the mom the respect. So
she's a beast. Yeah, she was definitely the favorite in that league last year. Just
100%. Pat and I were talking about it we've talked about her on this podcast a few times about how she's been crushing it. So definitely got to give her that mad respect, man. She's a really good fantasy player. So how well did she do in the first one, V1?
I think she's rebuilding in that league. I'm not.
Okay.
Actually, no. She was crushing it in that league too. Yeah, she didn't. Wait, I won that league, but I think she made the playoffs. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, props, man. Yeah. And you're in how many total leagues? Let's talk to you that. We talked about
24 Dynasty leagues, 27 total.
27 total, 24 Dynasty. I'm in, I want to say 18. I just had another league collapse. We talked about this the other podcast, or we talked about this the first podcast, like things that are pet peeves. I just had another league collapse that was started last year because just assholes like start Dynasty leagues and treat them as redrafts nowadays. Well, they'll jump in for 1 year and then they'll just bail after that 1 year if they don't win it all. And I had in one league, it was an MFL, so I hate that side anyway. So I was actually glad to get off sleep. It sucks. I hate that. I'm only in it now on one league, and it's because it's an IDP or it's a salary cap league, and it's literally like 25 positions you have to fill, and it's a full IDP. So, yeah, so just frustrating when you have like all this stuff happening and people just bail. So that's biggest fucking pet peeve.
Yeah,
I don't know where I was going with that, but just took a little detour.
Just riffing, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But yeah. Dallas Goedert for a second and a third. I like Dallas Goedert.
Oh shit, I gotta put back on.
I've got a bunch of picks this class.
You have a shit ton. You have a shit ton in that league.
12. I think I have 12 picks.
You can't make them all. Like that's the thing. You can't make them all.
I can.
Could you feel? But no, you can. But I mean, like, would you be able to actually?
Yeah, I got dudes I can cut.
Okay, all right. That was the question.
But yeah, I just wanted to consolidate a couple onto a player that I like and believe is going to out kick the coverage.
I agree. So you gave up a late third and a middle second for Dallas Goedert. I think that's a win, dude. I definitely think you won the trade. But I think Tiger might obviously had a reason to do it. Maybe he's got more tight ends than he needs, and he needs draft picks, kind of like what I was talking through with the quarterbacks that I kind of ransomed off. But overall, man, I think it's a good trade for both, probably.
Yeah, and Goddard's 29.
Yeah. Still got a couple more years probably on him, at least. So, yeah, I like it, man. So what else you got? What are you looking forward to the most in the next couple of weeks? So the trade's picking up a little bit more.
Yeah, I've really seen a huge uptick this past week. Do
you want to know why? Because the combine.
Because we love the combine.
We can all hate the combine. I don't think it's the best of like all, but it gives you something to look forward to. That's the way.
Can I give a little backstory before we get out?
You can do whatever you want, man.
Yeah. So Matt had me on like earlier in the week.
Oh, you're gonna give this backstory. All right.
And all I did basically was just like talk about all the things that I don't care about pertaining to the combine. and Pat was supposed to be on that pod too. So I basically like dogged the combine for like 15 minutes, and then we started talking.
Pretty much
started talking trades, and then Pat showed up like in the middle of the trade talk. It was just a disaster.
It was kind of a disaster. Could you tell by the expression on my face? I was just like, "Oh fuck, where's this gonna go?" Like, and then I gotta keep the train going, and I'm like, he's not giving me anything. Like, I'm like,
I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed or something, man.
No, it's all good, dude. I mean, and again, by all means, like, I'm not saying the combine's like the NLBL, like it's the fucking combine, like NFL combine, like, but it's something to look forward to because usually it's around this time and things pick up. Dynasty trades start picking up. People, you're talking about draft prospects, you get to know a little bit more about them. I'm a Bears fan, so we've got a lot of investment in this draft. Obviously, with Caleb, the 101. What are we going to do with the 109? Could we get a Dunze at 109? So that's why I'm also really invested, just because I'm like, I just like it for my team's perspective, but then also for Dynasty, I kind of tied the two together. But yeah, it was
You know what it was? It was self-defense. It was survival because every year so much hype goes into the combine and it makes my stomach acid tingle a little bit. It makes me a little nauseous. Like I just don't want to fall victim to the hype. I try so hard not to
You
fall
got to be
victim
very
to the hype.
careful of that. Yeah.
So I put
Sky
up a
Moore.
wall.
Sky Moore, prime example.
Exactly. I just put up a wall and that wall came with me on air and I should have left the wall behind.
It's all good, bro. No, we all have our moments, you know, it is, but yeah, I mean, Sky Moore is a prime example of that. And I think that's, you know, that's one thing that we didn't talk about when we did talk about the combine that I'm interested to see is like how much of that is going to like how much of the hype and like who's going to be the hype, who's going to be hyped out of control, who's going to be through the roof like the next best great or, you know, in Dynasty, oh my God, must have this wide receiver because he tested it. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that comes out of it. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that goes. But don't fall for the Sky Moore hype. That's all I got to say. Do you still, when he was coming out, what did you think of Sky Moore?
I got excited, man.
Yeah, I think we all did.
I got excited, bro. I was still excited last year.
Yeah. I have a nephew that goes to Western Michigan and was actually a punter for their football team. So he like knew obviously his teammates with Sky Moore. So I was also invested in that sense where I was like, dude went to school with my nephew. That's cool. So
he was a good prospect. He was.
Yeah, no, he was. It just transition has not been good for him. So hopefully he can figure out a way to turn it around. All right, brother. Yeah. You got anything else before we sign off, man?
I think I'm good, man. You good?
I'm good. Why don't we wish Pat good luck for his he's like I said, he's got an art expo in New Jersey tomorrow. I don't know what the name of the place is, but it's New Jersey right outside the city, New York City. So wish him the best, man. Crush it, Pat. Hopefully you sell a lot of artwork and make a lot of money, and then you can join more leagues and we could start to ball out. But if anybody, speaking on that note, if anybody wants to join, who's listening to this, wants to join a league with us, I will talk about doing another startup for Elite Fantasy Nation. We'll call it V2. So put your name in comments, and it'll be in Sleepers. So put your sleeper handle in there, and I'll try to track you down. But let us know. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button down below. Let's get some more patrons. We're kind of trying to get it rolling, trying to get this train kind of going, getting more momentum. So pass it on to friends. Let us know we're doing good, comments and everything. So we'll want to hear it. But why don't you give a little shout out, peace out, whatever you're going to do, James, before you kick it out.
Heck yeah, Matt. Always a pleasure to shoot the shit. Matt Denny, my fellow Frenchman.
Yes, sir.
Much love and have a good weekend.
All right, JD Gemez, man. All the love. Peace.